Executives from major drug makers expected to meet with President Trump today with pricing, insurance, and tariffs among the likely topics of conversation. Joining us right now on the challenges and opportunities facing the pharma industry under this new administration. Jared Hulse is the healthcare sector strategist at MISO, and it's good morning. It's nice to see you this morning is where I was going to go with this.
You too.
What do these conversations ultimately mean, do you think, to the valuations of these pharma companies?
It's tough to tell on valuation. I think the significance of the meeting is to have some sort of collaborative effort between the industry and the government to see where they can move things over time.
But what does that mean in an RFK world, right, where he's made lots of comments about what he thinks should happen to vaccines and other drugs and other things, and the idea that you have a president who I think does want American business to thrive? Square that circle.
Well, I think the stocks have already reflected either a little bit or a lot of worry on the RFK front based on the nomination last year and various comments made out of either him or other appointees to this government. You know, when you look at the pharmaceutical sector and you look at the biotech sector, I think so much of the underperformance over the past few years has been due to the nebulousness around policy. And then you have this administration, which by many accounts is much more apt to be rogue in terms of policy. I think it's really kept a lid on these particular subsectors in healthcare.
Who is the winner and who is the loser in this administration?
As far as the stocks go?
As far as the stocks go.
I think at some point you will see some thawing out of pharma.
Okay.
Because there will be some more definitive strategy, more definitive plan. I don't know if it's going to happen as a result of today's meetings or conversations, right, but at some point I think you'll have a more definitive outline for how things go. I think that'll be helpful.
Jared, should we want to import price controls on pharmaceuticals? I mean, I've heard Trump saying, you know, in Canada, it's, you know, GLP, or in Europe, we know why they cost those things. And we know that they may never develop another new drug in Europe because they cap prices and nobody can innovate.
Right.
So be careful what you wish for. Do we want the same prices that these pharmaceuticals go for in other countries, Canada?
Well, it'll crush the industry.
Well, that's what I mean. So why are they talking? Is that just lip service?
I think a lot of it.
They understand.
I think a lot of it is lip service. I think so many conversations that are had between whether it's Pfizer or other companies that are going to be meeting with Trump today are around the business side of what's happening and the fact that they cannot make as much money, they can't innovate, they cannot spend with respect to R&D if you're going to see further price controls beyond the IRA and other situations that have already happened. So it's a clear negative. I mean,
they never explain why drugs are cheaper in Europe, in Canada. They never explain that it's price controls.
Right.
They pretend like the drug companies are screwing us in the United States and not screwing people in Europe. But that's not.
Agree. I don't think that's the case either. I think some of this stuff will be sorted out. Again, much of what's happening, I think, this week and going forward is going to be more exploratory and just trying to figure out how this industry works.
Let me ask you a different question, and it actually goes to GLP-1s, which is obviously the sort of next gen of everything. One of the things that Elon Musk has talked about is if you could actually get GLP-1s at a significant discount, meaning at a very accessible price point, you could change healthcare in America forever in a substantial way. Do you think that's in the cards in the next 4 years?
I mean, I agree on the surface. I think not only from a weight loss standpoint, but from all these other health benefits that you get from taking the drugs. I mean, it's one reason why Hims stock has tripled over the past couple of months, right? Just on the premise that more Americans can access these drugs cheaper. Now,
By the way, does that make sense to you? Because there's a separate issue around Hims.
Yeah, the issue
is that they don't have the patents for these drugs.
Right, and the drugs are no longer, they're not longer on the shortage list either. Right, so that's a whole nother conversation. But on the surface of the Musk commentary on GLP-1s, agree. I mean, I think especially once they become oral and...
But do you think that the president is going to somehow jawbone the pharma companies into selling this product at some kind of, cut rate deal? And that it will, look, if you could deal with even 10% of Americans who are obese, it would change so much.
What I don't know, and what's a possibility, is whether the companies would trade price for volume, right? If the reimbursement widened and access improved, could you take a price hit? Maybe that would be a concession they'd be willing to take. But Wegovy is already, semaglutide from Novo Nordisk is on the 2027 IRA drug pricing list anyway. Then you're going to see generics come in the early 2030s. So this is going to be solved for in time anyway.